psychologist. I have a PhD in inclusive and special education, and I'm founder and director of Instituto Inclusive Todos, a nonprofit here in Brazil. I have worked with supports for alternative means of communication since graduation in Brazil and throughout my private practice here as a psychologist and supporting inclusion for individuals with autism. And I've also worked with research and I've worked during or throughout my PhD in Syracuse, where I worked with supporting individuals who type to communicate. Also as a researcher and trainer, training parents, teachers, and others to support individuals with communication, complex communication needs at the Hussman Institute in Baltimore, Maryland. Here now at our institute, we also support communication and inclusion for all individuals that don't have a meaningful way to communicate meaningfully and share their thoughts and ideas. Since the beginning of my practice, I have to say I've underestimated the role of movement in autism, and as a consequence, the importance of providing the right support or the right prompts so that the person could access their device and actually communicate meaningfully and share ideas and thoughts. When we interact, we have to figure out what is the communication supports that the person needs in order to communicate. So it's never a matter of if they can communicate, it's how we are going to provide that support so that they can communicate. So we assume that the person has an idea and we need to provide from the least amount and then what the person actually needs of support to or prompting so they can actually share their ideas, respond, and be heard in their environments and connect with others around them.
People had it. You chatted. No, Shelly.
Okay, I have to introduce myself to all of you. I'm Susie, Graciella's mom, and Graciella wanted me for her presentation, to read her words. So just a reminder that these are her words, not my words, and I'm just reading them for her for the sake of this presentation. I have to introduce myself to all of you. A lot of people call me G, but my name is Graciella. A lot of my life so far, I have been without access to communication. Being in school without a way to communicate was infuriating. Because I understood so much more than I could communicate, but I had no way to let the teachers know this. After I learned how to communicate, I went back to school and tried to demonstrate that I was intelligent. But the teachers could not support my communication, which made me so frustrated. Life without communication was impossible to enjoy because I was always frustrated and not able to interact with my friends and family in the way that I wanted to. A lot of my days are now spent with my mom as my teacher. Really do not know what I would do without her and without her commitment to my education. A lot of what I have accomplished and all of what I have learned is because of her going the extra mile for me.
All gone.
Really want to say that it is critical to have a communication partner who is doing all of the right things to help your body stay calm.
This,
A lot of my anxiety really gets in my way and can impact my communication. A lot of my days, I have the hardest time being in control of my body, and I need help getting my body to listen to my brain. A lot of the time, my body is out of my control. Prompts change this dynamic for me and help me control my body. People who are able-bodied cannot understand a lot about how my body behaves.
A good prompt can make the difference between getting your thoughts out and being trapped in silence.
When you think about it, we use prompts everywhere in life. A flashing yellow light on the road is a prompt for drivers to slow down. In the classroom, we give all sorts of prompts to every student. We might direct a student to look at their paper or look at the board. That's a prompt. Asking them, what do you need to do next, is a prompt. Showing them how to count on their fingers, or helping them decide where to put a line to divide a shape into even parts to make fractions. How many times does a teacher ask their students to pay attention? That's a prompt. We might give them a prompt to look at the board or to look at the bottom of page 22. These prompts seem like no big deal, right? Well, prompts have gotten a bit of a bad rap in different parts of the autism community. There are fears that many of our students will become prompt dependent. There are concerns of influencing through prompts. These are all valid concerns, but they shouldn't keep us from offering the support that is needed to help our students to have more autonomy in their lives. The solution is to learn how to offer the best support possible. We'll go into more depth on how to offer the best support in this module.
But first, let's talk a bit more about these concerns. Prompt dependency is where a student relies on our prompt to act. We have experienced this many times, especially from students who have come from compliance-based models, where they're looking for that right answer to appease us, and they aren't actually using their reasoning skills. So those are those automatic responses that tend to be fast and focused on your face, rather than it being a purposeful response where their focus will be less on us and more on their own response. So we referenced this a bit in our apraxia module. And Graciela talks about how controlling automatic responses is something she struggles with. She says, I have this problem many times, and the need for my communication partner to recognize when I'm doing this is critical. But she also acknowledges the role that prompting and support play in a productive way. She says, support is how I have made it this far. A lot of people have such a hard time understanding what it is like to live in an apraxic body. A lot of people think that I have no interest in allowing myself to do the things my peers do and assume I am choosing to have little participation. But this is not true at all.
In our communication practice strategies module, we talk more about how to help students with their reasoning skills. This in itself will help prevent prompt dependency. It's a powerful combination when we are presuming competence, using age-appropriate materials as opposed to matching colors for years on end, and focusing on helping the student gain more purposeful motor control, letting them know they don't have to prove their intelligence to us. When we help students reason through their own response rather than looking for that right answer without thinking about it, we're helping them avoid becoming prompt dependent. Students need to learn that being wrong is okay. We all make mistakes, especially when we're learning something new. By acknowledging that our students are still learning, we can teach them to be more comfortable thinking and reasoning through a problem without the fear of being wrong. It also changes our mindset as we view our students as competent learners. Graciela says that it is questioning our intelligence so often that gets in the way of our feeling free to be ourselves and being able to answer in the way that we want to. This emphasis on building confidence with reasoning creates a supportive environment that allows for a systemic, gradual fading of prompts. And it makes a huge difference in not creating prompt dependency. But we will still have students who haven't had this experience yet, who are still looking for that correct response. So we'll need to look at strategies for how to help a student who has become prompt dependent.
So our goal is to give you the tools to be able to use prompts when needed to help your students have access to age-appropriate education and to be able to express their understanding with accuracy. Our goal with our student is to allow them to be successful with the least intrusive prompt possible. But we also want them to experience success, and we want them to remain as regulated as possible so that the most learning can take place. So if that means we need a lot of prompting up front, that's okay. We just need to keep in mind the goal is to reduce our prompts over time.
Another reason prompts are so useful is that we want to make sure our students are learning to communicate in the clearest way possible. We don't want anyone doubting the authenticity of their words, and we certainly don't want to influence what they're writing. So it's our job to help them create healthy motor habits from the start. We all influence each other's communication. Have you ever had a kindergartner tell you that only German automobiles are worth anything, or that American cars are garbage? I have. Clearly that child's communication has been influenced by their parents or someone at home. As a teacher, I influence all my students in their learning. I influence the way they shape their writing, the way they learn to model math problems, the way they set up for a science experiment. Some influence is unavoidable, but we're going to talk about several ways to limit influence. Most people think that by having the spelling device on the table and working on independent typing, you're going to be safe from influence. Well, perhaps it would help reduce some influence. However, we're also placing a huge demand on our students by placing their spelling device on a table. Think about how much an autistic person needs to move their body. Having a board on a stand or a table constantly requires our students to recalibrate themselves toward the board, all while their body may be fighting their intentions. Asking a student to sit still to spell is a big enough challenge, and making them stay with their stationary device is going to give them unnecessary mountains to climb over. Holding the board allows us to offer emotional support. Think of the connection between a mother holding a storybook for her child. The connection and joint focus they share on the story, what's happening, and how they respond together. This is the same joint focus that needs to exist between a communication partner and the student they're supporting.
Additionally, when the communication partner is holding the board, we can place the board in the optimal place that will reduce the demand on their eyes, their arm, their hand, their posture, and it will allow for them to move as needed.